Hello comrades, from the DPR of Korea is Beautiful and the Juche idea is a scientific theory Facebook page. For a long time I've always been interested in the specific structure of the DPRK's economic system. Of course one knows it is a planned economy where commodities are produced according to need, not for profit. However, information regarding how this type of economy is run in the DPRK is quite scarce. In this video, we'll be delving into the specifics of the country's planned economy and we'll cover three areas. 1. The general structure and aims of the planned economy. 2. The method of planning. 3. The notion of an independent versus closed economy. And 4. Some specific areas of the nation's economy I found quite interesting to mention. Now, the vast majority of this information comes from the Understanding Career Economy booklet published in 2016. 1. The general structure and aims of the planned economy. First things first, let's get the basics out of the way. The DPRK is a socialist state where the means of production, distribution and exchange are collectively owned by the working class and the economy is rationally planned in accordance with needs of the people, as opposed to the capitalist mode of production where the economy is focused on the accumulation of profits. In the DPRK, the socialist ownership is split into two categories: all people ownership and cooperative ownership. Section 2 of the Understanding Career booklet states the following, quote, "All people ownership means the ownership by all the people of the means of production, and cooperative ownership is the public ownership of the means of production within the bounds of a certain collective." In the DPRK, cooperative ownership holds the dominant position in the sector of the rural economy. A socialization of the means of production is confined to the individual cooperative economy. In the sphere of cooperative ownership, products are distributed and used within the scope of the cooperative economy, and the ownership is confined to those involved directly in the management of the cooperative economy. This indicates that cooperative ownership is a low-grade form of ownership as compared with all-people ownership. Cooperative ownership is gradually converted into all-people ownership. To put it simply, all-people ownership is what we traditionally consider to be nationalization, i.e. the state owns the industry and it is controlled politically and economically by the entirety of the collective society. On the other hand, cooperative ownership is owned and controlled by those who specifically work within that sector. The vast majority of cooperative enterprise exists in the countryside in the form of collective farms. As can be seen in the quote, the DPRK considers cooperative ownership to be a lower form of ownership. Therefore, it is considered of high political and economic importance to convert cooperative ownership into all-people ownership. Quote, "Only when cooperative ownership is converted into all-people ownership is it possible to eliminate the differences between the urban and rural areas, and between the working class and the peasantry, and achieve the complete victory of socialism." To this end, the DPRK are pushing forward the three revolutions: ideological, technological, and cultural. In the countryside, and organically combining the two forms of ownership in the direction of constantly enhancing the role of the leadership of all people ownership over cooperative ownership. In order to organically combine the two forms of ownership, the state considers it of utmost importance to build up and develop the all-people property, which directly works with cooperative property. Examples of all-people property directly involved in cooperative property include, but is not limited to, farming machine stations and seed breeding farms. These all-people owned property is playing the leading role in supporting and developing the cooperative economy, and not the cooperative economy leading the all-people economy. To this end, These all-people industries are working to ensure that the cooperative economy is in a good position and that no collective farm or collective industry goes without. So, to summarise, the DPRK's means of production, distribution and exchange are collectively owned. This collective ownership is split into two categories: all-people ownership and cooperative ownership. Cooperative ownership exists mainly in the rural economy. The DPRK considers the conversion of cooperative ownership to all-people ownership to be of utmost importance. This is done by organically combining the two forms of ownership to eventually remove the designations between working class and peasantry. Section 2. The method of planning. The Understanding Career document provides details as to the methods of economic planning in the DPRK. The economy is rationally planned in accordance with the scientific method. Therefore, unified and detailed planning is considered to be vital in carrying out this task. Unified planning is making sure planning is conducted using the same method and under the same guidance in accordance with the State Planning Committee. Detailed planning is, as it sounds, is the State Planning Commission's aim to plan for the overall development of the national economy as well as the activities of all individual factories and enterprises. Section 3. Independent versus closed economy. There is a lot of so-called criticism of the DPRK that the economy is closed and in turn the nation has become anti-internationalist as a result of it. This is false. The independent economy works towards becoming self-reliant. However, this does not mean it denies foreign trade and cooperation. The DPRK is, in fact, open to foreign trade, but it is not open to economic domination, subjugation, and imperialism. Trading with other nations is done on the principle of fulfilling each other's needs. And Section 4. I wanted to point out just a few interesting areas of economic development in the DPRK, ones which I found of interest. Now, it seems as if rail transportation, in terms of the economy, plays quite an important role, and the DPRK consider it to play a significantly important role. And electrification of main railway lines, especially those which are directly linked with the economy, seems to have been completed, and now the DPRK are working towards integrating newer technology and especially information technology into rail transportation especially. In terms of telecommunications, the DPRK says that it's highly centralised and it's developing in line again with the development of information technology, and that the state is investing quite heavily in modernising telecommunications and has introduced optical fibre cables in the communications network and has established high-speed data communication networks, nationwide mobile communication networks, and satellite communication networks. Domestic communications are provided by the Central Mobile Communications Agency and international communications by the International Communications Centre. The ICC in Pyongyang and Raison provide access to the internet. In terms of afforestation, the DPRK mountains account for nearly 80% of its land area. Forest creation and conservation are of great significance, not only in increasing the country's natural resources and improving the land, but also in developing the national economy. By laying out timber forests, forests of economic value, and scenic forests with tree species that grow quickly and of our economic value on a nationwide scale and in a big way, are developing forests in a prospective way. By establishing a modern forest creation and conservation system and putting forest management on a scientific footing, it is constantly increasing forest resources and using them in a comprehensive way. The Central Nursery and other nurseries direct primary efforts to putting in production of saplings on a scientific, industrial and intensive footing. On every tree planting day, which is the 2nd of March, all people turn out. Recently, the state worked out a plan to turn all the mountains into thickly wooded treasure mountains, into gold mountains, within the coming 10 years. Forest restoration headquarters were formed in the capital and in every province, city and county, and they are providing guidance over tree planting according to 10-year stage-by-stage annual plans.